Does exercise improve your immune function or destroy your immune function? That's what we're going to go over today. And we're not only going to talk about, how you can best, achieve those results, but we're also going to talk about some recent things that I saw here. So I'm Dr. Jeff Cumrow, and over the past 15 years, I've been blessed to be able to work with thousands of people, really improve their brain and body function in ways that help them more adaptable to stress. So yesterday, I made a mistake yesterday. I saw in my Google feed, I got this article that came across, and it was something along the lines of vigorous exercise, lowers immune function. And, I've got it set up so it will alert me on these different health topics, right? Because that's important. It's something that I need to stay on top of. And this one just caught my eye because I'm going to see how they did this, because that's just not the way that this actually works, right? So I clicked into it, and unfortunately, normally when I do this, I will open it up in my Chrome browser, and it will be there later. I apparently didn't do that. I don't have the source for it, and I was looking for it. I cannot find it today. So I apologize on that. I don't have the source, but that doesn't matter, right? Because the topic is still the same. And when I clicked into it, the big setback on this research is the way that they did it. They had the person exercise intensely, and then they immediately measured their immune function. Their immune system was lowered. And to some of you, that may surprise. And this is shocking news, right? This is the problem with this is A, a poorly designed study, and B, it's poorly done reporting. It's actually irresponsible reporting, in my opinion. The reason for that is people look at this stuff, right? And the average person doesn't look to see how the study was done. Now, when you take somebody and you put them through a stress and then you immediately measure something, then it's going to be lowered. As we talk about all the time, stress decreases the resources that we have left, right? So when we go and we exercise really, really vigorously, if we immediately look at the immune function afterward, it's going to be knocked down because you don't have as many resources to run the immune system. You just used a bunch of resources on the exercise. So yes, it's going to be knocked down then. But if we look at other research articles that have been done throughout the years, if we were to measure that in a different way, which should have been done in this study, it shouldn't have just used an initial measurement on this. It should have used a measurement later on, and then a longer term measurement as well. If we regularly put ourselves through a little stress, we adapt to that stress. That's what exercise does. Exercise is a stress, period. No way around it. But it is a stress, and it's a good stress because we start to adapt to that. Each time we're able to handle a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And that's important because when we actually get exposed to stresses, if we have that ability, that increased capacity for that stress, we're able to better handle it, right? So in the future, as we get into better shape, we have more resources that we can dedicate when we get under those short-term stresses. That's the way that this system works. That's the why exercise, that's why learning, that's why all of those things are good for you. When we put ourselves under that short-term stress, not a stress that is going to be too much for our capacity, but when we put ourselves under a short-term reasonable stress, it increases our capacity. And the next time we can do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and it grows. And that's ultimately how all of this is supposed to work. That's why we should have measured short term, right after the exercise. We should have measured midterm, and we should have measured long term. That wasn't done in this study. And why is this irresponsible reporting, in my opinion? People latch onto this. They look at this and they're like, exercise is bad for me. And just as humans, we have our own narrative, right? We have the things that we tell ourselves all the time. We see this and we're like, man, exercise isn't a whole lot of fun. Oh, this says it's bad for me. I'm not going to do it anymore. That's not responsible reporting. It's something that we need more people in our society to exercise. There's a lot of people that are not exercising in the way that they should be. And that vigorous exercise is actually something that can be good for us. It's not good for everybody. If somebody's under a lot of stress, or they're chronically ill or whatever, that their system is knocked down, going for a vigorous workout is not going to be an ideal time. And I do have another video on that on my channel here. So if you're curious, watch that. It goes into that in detail. But this brings me back to a friend that I had when I was personal training, and this friend decided that they wanted to do ultra marathons. And they started training, and they would be up in the gym 3 to 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter what, every single day, 3 to 4 hours. What do you think happened to that person? Over the course of months, he ended up getting sick. He ended up having pain. He ended up having all of these different things happen. It ended up he gave himself stress fractures in his femur. He wasn't giving himself time to recover. And that's when vigorous exercise can be bad for us. So how do we go about it in a way that doesn't do that? We go through that vigorous exercise. We give ourselves time to heal. We go through that vigorous exercise again. We give ourselves time to heal. And each time we give ourselves that ability, like I said, when we look at that vigorous exercise, that first time we may be able to run a block, and then the second time we may be able to run 2 blocks, and pretty soon we can go 3 blocks and 4 blocks and 5 blocks. We start to stack on top, but we have to have the ability to recover in between there, right? If we're not giving ourselves the ability to recover, then we run 1 block, and we run 1 block, and we run 1 block, and then we go 3/4 of a block, and then we go half a block, and then we go 1/4 of a block, because we're just beating ourselves down. That's where it can destroy your immune function. But most of us aren't even coming close to that. And over time, the more that we responsibly exercise, the more that we're going to get that benefit. And then we get exposed to a stressor. Whatever that stressor may be. It may be a virus, it may be bacteria, it may be, work, it may be whatever else, but we have that capacity built up. We can run a mile. So, if we get exposed to a stressor that gives us the same amount of stress as 3/4 of a mile, we're in the clear. We still have extra resources. We're good to go. Now, if we get exposed to a stressor that, it taxes us the same amount as running 2 miles, then we're still going to be taxed. It's still not going to work as well. And that is the importance of staying in shape throughout. The more resilient we are, the more in shape we are, the better we handle all of these things, and the bigger and bigger stresses we can take on without having a setback. So again, like I said, I saw this article, and I think it's important that we talk about this, because stress is something that we're faced with at all times. And it seems like every year life gets busier and busier, right? We have more and more things, more and more responsibilities that are put onto us. And if we're not able to handle those, then it can crush your health. I see it all the time. And it's not just crush your health in a way that you're tired. It's crush your health in a way that you're tired. It's crush your health in a way that your memory starts to fade. Your focus starts to fade. You start to get sick. You start to just see this snowball rolling in the wrong direction. And that's ultimately the biggest thing with this, is we have to put ourselves in a position to resist that, right? We've got to have that ability to focus on our things that we have to focus on, and we have to have energy at the end of the day to recover and restore our systems. And that's what I see too often, is people don't have that. So exercise is a good thing. Exercise done responsibly, where you give yourself time to recover in between. And time to recover in between doesn't have to be a week. It might be a day. If you've got a Garmin, every time I go out for a run, it tells me how many hours is it going to take me to recover. And that doesn't mean that I can't exercise in that time. It just means that I can't go for another run in that time, because if I do, my capacity is going to be reduced. I'm not going to get the benefits out of it. So there are tools out there that can help you with that. Obviously, if you want to have a conversation, I'm open to doing that. But I do appreciate you tuning in. If this helped you, like or subscribe it. It really gives me information on what you guys find helpful and what I can share to help you take that next step. So I love you. I appreciate you. Again, I know your time is your most valuable resource, and I appreciate you spending some of it with me. So I will see you next week.